Nathan wiped down the bar counter for the umpteenth time that night, his mind drifting to distant adventures as he stared out the grimy windows of Rick's Tavern. The same old regulars nursed their beers, telling the same old stories. He sighed, wondering if anything exciting would ever happen in this sleepy Midwestern town. "Hey, Nate, how about another round?" called out Fred, a grizzled factory worker. "Coming right up," Nathan replied, grabbing fresh mugs. As he poured the draft beers, a blinding light suddenly flooded the bar. Nathan shielded his eyes, heart racing. When he looked up, the roof had vanished. A pulsing beam engulfed him, Fred, and 3 other patrons. Nathan's feet left the floor, and he flailed wildly as he was pulled upward, the bar shrinking below. "What the hell?" he shouted, but his voice was swallowed by a deafening hum. In a disorienting flash, Nathan found himself sprawled on a gleaming metal floor. He scrambled to his feet, head spinning. The other men from the bar groaned nearby, equally bewildered. They stood in a vast chamber filled with sleek technology far beyond anything on Earth. Nathan gaped at the starfield visible through massive windows. "Holy," he breathed. "We're in space." A door slid open with a hiss, and Nathan's jaw dropped as a group of stunningly beautiful women strode in, clad in form-fitting uniforms. They could have been supermodels yet carried themselves with military precision. Their leader locked eyes with Nathan. She was tall and lithe, with flowing blonde hair and piercing blue eyes. Despite her ethereal beauty, her gaze was cold and imperious. "I am Commander Zara of the Zentari," she announced. "You primitive savages are now property of the Galactic Alliance." Nathan blinked in confusion. "Wait, what? You look human." Zara's lip curled in disgust. "You dare compare your pitiful species to the glory of Zentari? Your ignorance proves your inferiority." "Now hold on just a minute," Nathan protested, finding his voice. "You can't just abduct people. We have rights." "Rights?" Zara laughed mockingly. "You have no rights here, Earthling. You are now conscripts for the Star Arena, expendable fodder for our grand tournament." The other men began shouting in panic and outrage. Zara silenced them with a sharp gesture. "Restrain the primitives and prepare them for processing." As Zentari guards moved to subdue them, Nathan's bartender instincts kicked in. He raised his hands placatingly. "Whoa, let's all calm down here. How about we discuss this over drinks? I make a mean cosmic cocktail." Zara arched an eyebrow, seeming almost amused by his audacity. "You think your primitive concoctions could impress beings of our sophistication?" Nathan grinned rakishly. "Only one way to find out, gorgeous. Or are you afraid to try something new?" For a moment, Zara looked taken aback by his boldness. Then her eyes narrowed dangerously. "You will address me as Commander, you insolent barbarian. Guards, take them to holding cells. We will soon break that foolish spirit." As the guards roughly seized them, Nathan locked eyes with Zara once more. "Looking forward to our next chat, Commander," he said with a wink. Zara turned away sharply, but not before Nathan caught a flicker of intrigue in her ice-blue eyes. The Zentari guards marched the captive Earthlings through winding corridors of gleaming metal and pulsing energy conduits. Nathan's mind raced, trying to process the impossible situation. "I can't believe this," muttered Fred. "Alien abduction was not on my bingo card for tonight." "At least they're hot aliens," quipped Jerry, the college kid who had been trying to use a fake ID earlier. Nathan shot him a look. "Maybe cool it with ogling our captor, kid." "What? Like you weren't totally flirting with the head honcho back there?" Jerry retorted. Before Nathan could respond, they were shoved into a spacious holding cell. The energy barrier flickered to life behind them with an ominous hum. "What are we going to do?" whimpered Earl, the town drunk. "I don't want to be alien meat." Nathan paced the cell, mind working furiously. "All right, let's think this through. They said something about a tournament, right? Maybe if we do well, we can negotiate our freedom." Fred scoffed. "You're dreaming, Nate. Did you see their tech? We're cavemen compared to them." "Maybe," Nathan conceded. "But they look just like us. There's got to be some common ground we can work with." Jerry pressed his face against the energy barrier, peering down the corridor. Guys? I think we're about to get some company." The barrier dissolved, and Zara strode in, flanked by guards. Her gaze swept imperiously over the prisoners before settling on Nathan. "You, bartender, come with me," she commanded. Nathan squared his shoulders and stepped forward, ignoring the nervous muttering of his companions. "Got a name for that drink order yet, Commander?" Zara's eyes flashed. "Your misplaced bravado will not serve you here, Earthling. You've been chosen for initial processing. The rest will follow shortly." As they exited the cell, Nathan heard Jerry whisper, "Dude, she's totally into you." Nathan was led to a sterile chamber filled with strange medical equipment. Zara gestured for him to sit on an examination table. "Strip," she ordered curtly. Nathan raised an eyebrow. "Buying a guy a drink first is customary where I come from." "Your primitive courtship rituals are irrelevant here," Zara snapped. "We must assess your physical condition before the games begin." "Ah, yes, these mysterious games," Nathan said as he reluctantly removed his shirt. "Care to elaborate on what exactly we're in for?" Zara's eyes roamed clinically over his exposed torso. The Star Arena is the galaxy's greatest gladiatorial spectacle. Fighters from across the cosmos compete in trials of strength, skill, and cunning. "And what happens to the losers?" Nathan asked, dreading the answer. "They are disposed of," Zara replied coldly, "along with their home worlds." Nathan froze. "You destroy an entire planet over a game?" "This is no mere game," Zara hissed. "The arena determines the fate of civilizations. Only the strong survive and thrive in this universe. The weak are culled." "That's insane," Nathan protested. "You can't just—" His words were cut off as Zara pressed a device against his chest. Energy crackled through him, and he gasped in shock. "Interesting," Zara murmured, studying a holographic readout. "Your physiology is remarkably similar to ours, yet your species is laughably primitive." Nathan's mind reeled, grasping for a way to reason with her. "If we're so similar, doesn't that suggest a common origin? Maybe our peoples are connected somehow." Zara's eyes narrowed. "Impossible. Zentari are the pinnacle of evolution. We share nothing with backward savages like you." "Really?" "Because from where I'm standing, well, sitting, we seem to have a lot in common," Nathan said with a roguish grin. "Same basic build, same number of limbs. You're certainly easy on the eyes by human standards." For a moment, Zara seemed flustered by his forwardness. Then her imperious mask slammed back into place. "Your feeble attempts at manipulation will not work on me, Earthling. Prepare yourself for the arena. You'll need every ounce of cunning to survive even the first round." As she turned to leave, Nathan called out, "Looking forward to surprising you, Commander." Zara paused at the door, glancing back with an unreadable expression. Then she was gone, leaving Nathan alone with his racing thoughts and the weight of Earth's fate on his shoulders. The next few hours passed in a blur of medical scans, injections, and curt instructions from Zentari technicians. Nathan was reunited with his fellow Earthlings in a large holding area filled with beings from across the galaxy. "Holy crap," Jerry whispered, gawking at a towering insectoid creature. "It's like the Mos Eisley Cantina in here." "Focus," Nathan urged. "We need to figure out what we're up against and how to survive this thing." Before they could strategize further, a booming voice filled the chamber. "Attention, gladiators. Prepare for planetary descent. The 127th Star Arena Games begin now." The floor beneath them suddenly became transparent. Nathan's stomach lurched as he realized they were rapidly approaching a massive world below. The planet's surface was a patchwork of environments: sweltering jungles, icy tundras, sprawling cityscapes, and more. "Contestants will be randomly distributed across Nexus Prime," the announcer continued. "Your first challenge begins immediately upon landing. Fight, survive, and prove your worth, or perish in obscurity." "Oh, we are so screwed," Earl whimpered. Nathan set his jaw, a determined glint in his eye. "No, we're not. We're going to stick together, use our heads, and show these alien bastards what Earthlings are made of." As if in response to his words, individual gravity fields suddenly enveloped each contestant. Nathan had a brief glimpse of his companions' panicked faces before they were all sent hurtling toward the planet below. He plummeted through the atmosphere, the ground rushing up to meet him at terrifying speed. Just when impact seemed imminent, his descent slowed. The gravity field gently deposited him in the midst of a dense alien forest. Nathan looked around wildly, heart pounding. He was alone in a sea of bioluminescent vegetation, strange cries echoing in the distance. A holographic countdown materialized before him. 10 o'clock minutes until the challenge begins. Okay, think, he muttered. What would MacGyver do? As the seconds ticked away, Nathan scanned his surroundings for anything useful. He grabbed vines to fashion a crude rope, found a hefty branch that could serve as a club, and pocketed some sharp-edged stones. The countdown reached 0. A deafening horn blared through the forest. The game was on. Nathan crouched, every sense on high alert. A rustle in the undergrowth made him spin around, brandishing his makeshift club. A horrifying creature burst into view, all tentacles and snapping mandibles. As it lunged for him, Nathan's bartending reflexes kicked in. He dodged with the same fluid motion he used to avoid a drunk's wild swing. The monster's momentum carried it past him, crashing into a tree. Nathan seized the opportunity, bringing his club down hard on what he hoped was a vulnerable spot. The creature let out an unearthly shriek and collapsed. Panting heavily, Nathan stared at his vanquished foe in disbelief. Then a slow grin spread across his face. "How's that for a primitive savage?" he shouted to the sky, knowing cameras must be watching. Miles away, in a luxurious viewing box, Zara leaned forward with interest. "Impressive," she murmured. "Perhaps this Earthling warrants further observation." As Nathan ventured deeper into the alien forest, he allowed himself a flicker of hope. They might just survive this insanity after all. And with any luck, he'd have another chance to spar with Commander Zara. Nathan trudged through the alien forest, the bioluminescent vegetation casting an eerie glow around him. His mind raced with strategies and thoughts about his friends. He needed to find them and form a plan if they had any hope of surviving this nightmare. He kept his makeshift club at the ready, ears straining for any sounds of movement. The forest was alive with strange noises, distant roars, rustling leaves, and the occasional screech of some unseen creature. Nathan's heart pounded as he pushed forward, determined not to be caught off guard again. After what felt like hours, he stumbled upon a clearing. In the center stood Fred, wielding a large branch like a baseball bat. He looked up as Nathan approached, relief washing over his face. "Nate, thank God. I thought I was alone out here." "Me too," Nathan replied, clasping Fred's shoulder. "Any sign of the others?" Fred shook his head. "Not yet, but we need to keep moving. This place is crawling with things that want to eat us." "Agreed," Nathan said. "Let's stick together and find Jerry and Earl." They set off, moving cautiously through the undergrowth. The forest seemed endless, each twist and turn bringing new challenges. They encountered bizarre flora that tried to ensnare them and narrowly avoided a massive, six-legged predator that stalked the treetops. Finally, they heard voices. Following the sound, they found Jerry and Earl huddled together near a stream, both looking battered but alive. "Nathan! Fred!" Jerry exclaimed, jumping up. "You made it!" Earl looked up, his face pale. "I don't think I can handle much more of this." "We'll make it, Earl," Nathan said firmly. "We just need to stick together and stay sharp." As they regrouped, a holographic message appeared before them, displaying a countdown and a map of the arena. Phase 1. Survive and regroup. Phase 2. Capture the flag, the message read. Time remaining, 12 hours. "Capture the flag?" Jerry asked, frowning. "What is this, gym class?" Fred grunted. "It's not going to be that simple. Look at the map." The map showed several locations marked with flags, each guarded by different alien species. Nathan pointed to one of the flags closest to their position. "We need to get to that flag before anyone else does. If we can capture it, we might have some leverage." Earl looked doubtful. "And if we don't?" "Then we adapt," Nathan said. "But let's focus on the plan. We move quickly and quietly. Jerry, you and Earl take the left flank. Fred and I will take the right. We converge on the flag from both sides. Got it? They nodded, and the group set off toward their target. The forest became denser as they neared the flag's location. Strange, luminescent creatures flitted through the air, and the ground was covered in thick, spongy moss that muffled their footsteps. As they approached the clearing where the flag was located, Nathan signaled for the group to stop. They crouched behind a large, gnarled tree, peering out at the clearing. The flag was guarded by a group of hulking, armored beings, their skin a mottled green and blue. "Great," Fred muttered. "What now, genius?" Nathan scanned the clearing, his mind working furiously. "We need a distraction," he said finally. "Fred, can you create some kind of diversion on the far side? Draw them away from the flag?" Fred nodded. "I can do that." "Good. Jerry, Earl, and I will move in and grab the flag while they're distracted. Everyone clear?" They nodded again, and Fred slipped off into the undergrowth. A few tense moments later, there was a loud crash, followed by a series of shouts and the sound of heavy footsteps moving away from the flag. "Now," Nathan hissed. They sprinted toward the flag, hearts pounding. As they reached it, Nathan grabbed the flagpole and yanked it free from the ground. The flag emitted a high-pitched tone, and a holographic message flashed above it: "Flag captured." "Let's get out of here," Nathan said, leading the way back into the forest. They ran until they were sure they were far from the clearing, then stopped to catch their breath. "One down," Jerry said, grinning. "How many more to go?" "Too many," Nathan replied, "but it's a start." As they settled into rest, Nathan's mind wandered back to Zara. He wondered if she was watching, if she had seen their small victory. He knew they still had a long way to go, but for the first time since this nightmare had begun, he felt a glimmer of hope. "What's next?" Earl asked, his voice trembling. Nathan took a deep breath. "We rest for now, regain our strength. Then we figure out our next move. We need to stay one step ahead of our captors and our competition. This is just the beginning." He looked up at the stars visible through the canopy of the alien forest, determination hardening his resolve. They would survive this. They had to. For Earth, for their loved ones, and for the chance to prove that even the most primitive of species could rise to the occasion and fight for their survival. "Get some rest," Nathan said softly. "We'll need it for what's coming next." As the others settled down, Nathan kept watch, his mind racing with plans and possibilities. He couldn't shake the feeling that their greatest challenges were still ahead, but he was ready. They all were. And with any luck, he'd get another chance to spar with Commander Zara, both on and off the battlefield. Nathan's eyes were heavy with fatigue, but he remained vigilant, scanning the forest for any signs of danger. The rest of the team slept fitfully, their exhaustion evident. The strange cries of the alien creatures echoed through the trees, creating an eerie symphony that kept Nathan on edge. As dawn broke, the bioluminescent glow of the forest faded, replaced by the harsh light of the alien sun. The group stirred, groaning as they stretched sore muscles and checked their makeshift weapons. Nathan stood and gathered them in a huddle. "All right, everyone. We've got a flag, but we need more if we want to stand a chance in this game," he said, showing them the map again. "Our next target is here," he pointed to a location further away, "but we need to be cautious. We're not the only ones hunting these flags." Jerry nodded, his expression serious. "What's the plan?" "We move quickly and quietly. Stay together and keep your eyes peeled. If we encounter any more of those armored creatures, we can't afford a direct confrontation. Distraction and stealth are our best bets." The group set off once more, moving through the dense forest with as much silence as they could muster. The ground beneath their feet was uneven, and strange plants reached out to snare their legs. Nathan led the way, his senses on high alert. As they approached the second flag location, they heard a commotion ahead. Nathan signaled for the group to halt, and they crept forward to investigate. Through the trees, they saw a battle raging between two different alien species, each vying for control of the flag. Nathan watched the scene unfold, his mind racing. "We need to wait for the right moment," he whispered. "Let them wear each other down, and then we strike." Minutes felt like hours as the battle continued. Finally, one of the alien groups emerged victorious, though they were visibly weakened. Nathan took a deep breath and motioned for the others to follow him. Now, he whispered. They moved swiftly and silently, closing the distance to the flag. Just as they were about to make their move, a loud snap echoed through the clearing. Nathan's heart sank as the aliens turned their attention to them, snarling and raising their weapons. "Scatter!" Nathan shouted. The group split in different directions, trying to avoid the incoming fire. Nathan dove behind a fallen log, his mind racing. He needed a plan, and fast. He spotted Fred on the other side of the clearing, motioning frantically. Nathan realized Fred was drawing the aliens' attention, giving the others a chance to regroup. Seizing the opportunity, Nathan sprinted toward the flag. He reached it just as one of the aliens lunged at him. With a swift swing of his club, Nathan knocked the creature aside and grabbed the flag, raising it high. Another high-pitched tone sounded, and the holographic message flashed, "Flag captured. Retreat." Nathan shouted, and the group fell back into the forest, dodging between trees and undergrowth. They ran until they could no longer hear the aliens' pursuit, finally stopping to catch their breath in a small clearing. "Two down," Jerry said, grinning despite his ragged breathing. "Not bad for a bunch of Earthlings." Nathan allowed himself a brief smile. "We're not out of the woods yet. We need to keep moving and stay one step ahead." They continued their journey, moving cautiously and avoiding any signs of other contestants. As the day wore on, the forest gave way to a rocky terrain. The group found a small cave where they could rest and plan their next move. "We've got 2 flags," Nathan said, laying out the map. "We need one more to have a real shot at this. The nearest one is here." He pointed to a spot marked in a desolate-looking area. "It won't be easy, but if we can get there before anyone else does, we might just pull this off." Earl looked apprehensive. "And if we can't?" Nathan met his gaze steadily. "Then we adapt and survive. But we're not giving up." They settled in for a brief rest, taking turns keeping watch. Nathan's thoughts kept drifting to Zara. He couldn't shake the feeling that she was watching their every move, analyzing their strategies. He needed to be ready for whatever she had planned next. As night fell, they set out once more, navigating the rocky terrain under the cover of darkness. The air was cooler here, and the sounds of the forest were replaced by the eerie silence of the barren landscape. They moved carefully, knowing that any noise could give away their position. Hours passed, and they finally reached the area marked on the map. The flag stood in the center of a wide, open plain, unguarded but exposed. Nathan scanned the surroundings, looking for any signs of traps or ambushes. "This feels too easy," Fred muttered, echoing Nathan's thoughts. Nathan nodded. "Stay sharp. There could be something we're not seeing." They approached the flag cautiously, weapons at the ready. Just as Nathan reached out to grab it, a series of blinding lights erupted around them, and a loud voice boomed through the air. "Contestants, prepare for the final challenge." Nathan's heart sank as he saw a group of heavily armed aliens emerging from the shadows, weapons trained on them. They were surrounded. "Drop your weapons," the lead alien commanded, his voice cold and authoritative. Nathan glanced at his friends, their expressions mirroring his own fear and determination. They had come too far to give up now. "Do as he says," Nathan said quietly, dropping his club. The others followed suit, their weapons clattering to the ground. The lead alien stepped forward, a cruel smile on his face. "You thought you could capture the flag so easily? This is the final test, Earthlings. Prove your worth or perish." Nathan's mind raced, trying to come up with a plan. They were outnumbered and outgunned, but he refused to let this be the end. "Fred, Jerry, Earl," he whispered. "When I give the signal, we make a break for it. Head for the rocks over there. We use the terrain to our advantage." They nodded, tense and ready. "Now!" Nathan shouted, and they sprinted toward the rocky outcropping. The aliens opened fire, but the group weaved and dodged, making it to cover. Nathan's heart pounded as he crouched behind a boulder, catching his breath. "What's the plan, Nate?" Jerry asked, his voice trembling. "We need to split them up," Nathan said. "Draw them into smaller groups. Fred, take the left flank. Jerry, you and Earl take the right. I'll go straight ahead and create a distraction. We take them out one by one." They nodded, determination hardening their features. Nathan waited for a lull in the gunfire, then bolted from cover, shouting and waving his arms to draw the aliens' attention. As they focused on him, Fred, Jerry, and Earl moved into position. The plan worked. The aliens split up, pursuing them into the rocky terrain. Nathan led his pursuers on a wild chase, using the boulders for cover and striking when they least expected it. One by one, they took down their attackers, working together with a precision born of desperation. Finally, the last alien fell, and the group reunited by the flag, bruised and exhausted but alive. "Is that it?" Earl asked, his voice shaky. "Did we do it?" A holographic message appeared above the flag. Final flag captured. Contestants Nathan, Fred, Jerry, and Earl, victory. They stared at the message in disbelief, then erupted into cheers, hugging each other and laughing with relief. Nathan looked up at the sky, knowing that Zara was watching. "We did it," he whispered. "We actually did it." Miles away, Zara watched the scene unfold on her screen, a small smile playing at the corners of her mouth. "Impressive," she murmured. "Perhaps there's more to these Earthlings than I thought." As the group celebrated their hard-earned victory, Nathan allowed himself a moment of hope. They had survived the impossible, and now they had a chance to return home. But he knew their journey was far from over. They still had to face the galactic powers that had brought them here and fight for their freedom. But for now, they had one. And that was enough.